and my dogs might go nuts at some point during this, so
Okay,
might be a
perfect.
slight pause, but besides
No,
that,
you're
we should be
good.
good.
Okay, perfect then. Yeah, I added AI to Nitrility stuff, like incorporated parts of it after some inspiration. And let's just say it sparked a lot more investor meetings. I can promise you that. I've been like knee deep in that stuff right now. So I've had no time.
Yeah, well, we only talked like 2 weeks or so ago. So was that the
Yeah,
initial?
it was right. It was quite literally right after that. I was like, it's mainly for selling licenses for generative content. So, like for example, if you make something on Midjourney or like something in ChatGPT and it's unique to that platform, and you now, well, we're under the my assumption of what the legislation is going to be, and I think it's going to come to is that if you make a piece of generated content and you're the only person that made it, the first person, you'll own the copyrights for it, and we'll assume that for now until there's some like concrete law for it. But if the platform allows it, like Midjourney and all other platforms, you can then sell licenses for that generated content in a couple seconds on the marketplace. And I adjusted the code and figured it all out, added a slide deck, and then I sent it out to the same investors from before, and just like that, their interest switched all the way around. So yeah,
Is this content art or music still?
so it can be literally anything, any sort of AI. So again, the marketplace is for all sorts of licensing. So it could be any sort of intellectual property when it comes to generated content. So art, it could be the music, honestly, like the AI generated music. It could be literally anything.
So here's a big brain idea.
Yeah,
What
hit
if
me.
you, what if someone created an AI that created generated content using other AI,
Other
and then you
AI.
don't even need people, it's just
Then
AI
you
cycle.
do you know what do you I sent you the link for this, right? There's a new one, God know dot space, but it's the
Yeah.
auto GPT where basically you can, but the thing is like it goes way beyond that because you can ask the auto GPT to create a prompt for you that's good for mid journey and then tell it that after you create the prompt, I want you to continuously generate more and more images. And then I want you to use this subset of information based off of, I want you to make unique images basically. And then it can make it for you. And then with the new plugin stuff that's coming about, where it's giving you internet access and all of that, it can then automatically sell it for you. So it's getting too advanced. That's the problem. It's a big issue.
It's essentially fully automated, right?
It's fully automated. Yeah, I asked Godmo.space, and there's other auto GPTs out there, like Agent GPT, Godmo. There's ones you can download locally. I essentially asked it, like, look, I want you to create to me a viral Twitter post based off of all the logistics that you can find on what makes a Twitter post go viral, and then give me all the relevant hashtags, everything. And after I think it was like 40 minutes of computing, it got to like a final answer, and then it gave me like some perfect thing to just post consistently anytime I want and just increase engagement on the page, regardless. So I don't know. It's getting too advanced to my liking.
40 minutes, that's a decent amount of time for it to think about it. But could you
Yeah.
explain what Midjourney is? Is that just like a photo generator? I'm not sure what that
Yeah.
is.
Oh, okay. So Midjourney is by far the most popular photo generator. So it's the one where it's the most advanced one. I'll say it like that, right? Because it can replicate any style, it can replicate any sort of art that's already been made. It's the one that's being the updated the most as well. So it's replicating like Unreal Engine 5, for example. It can replicate the artwork of any of the painters back in the old days. And then it can also use links. So, like, let's say you have a link for a reference image, for example, you can plug that into Midjourney and then it'll create some piece of art based off of the whatever you want to change it to. But it is hands down the most comprehensive and probably the best image generator out there. You have to get like a Discord and then you can get on their server and then pay them subscription, I think. And then after that, you can start using the app. But Midjourney is the one that all of the artists use. And shit, I think OpenSea, there's like too many projects to count now that are just using AR art made off of Midjourney. And then I think the top one's doing like 600K in sales like every single year. So it's up there. It's up there for sure.
So Midjourney is able to replicate the styles of already proven popular styles that are out there.
Yeah, yeah. And it gets even better because there's a prompt that was made for ChatGPT 4 now that you can plug into ChatGPT 4, and then it will create a perfect Mid-Journey prompt for you now, which then you can plug into Mid-Journey, and then you can get a perfect image for whatever you want, right? So you can tell ChatGPT, look, I want like a dude falling out of the sky, for example, like in free fall, a 3D photorealistic, and it'll then create a perfect prompt for you saying like 3D ultra photorealism, comma, falling out of the sky, dark gradient, lights shining reflectively in certain directions, and then it'll give you the aspect ratio. You plug that all into Midjourney in one go. It'll then generate a perfect image for you every time. In fact, Nitrility's page, there's a couple pieces of art on there that are all off of Midjourney. So it's a very useful tool.
Do you think Nitrility is going to publish its own stuff using this, or is it going to just like have outside people?
So as in publish like Instagram posts, like stuff like that, or what?
No, like on Nitrility's website, like Nitrility Art have its own portfolio or
So I mean, yeah, we could probably make our own account. That's probably not a bad idea. Like OpenSea has their own account and they'll sell like stuff on there, right? So we can have our own account where we can sell licenses for any sort of content we create as well. And I plan, in fact, on creating a record label for the company because we have so many artists already on board, and that can expand into different branches as well for any sort of IP. So definitely going to make a profile. And there's definitely going to be a section on AI that will have a team just making stuff and then put it up on there, depending on how good it looks.
do you think you're going to have to notify the buyer that this is AI generated versus human generated and if that's going to impact?
Yeah, no, 100%. If you're doing false advertising, you're saying like it's human generated content. I feel like at least there's no laws for it right now because it's such a new space, but I think people are going to have a big issue with the fact that they're almost being misled, if you know what I mean. Because I think the special part of like a piece of art is that it's made by a human being, right? Like that's what makes a piece of art like a piece of art, right? Like shit, my sister made, I don't know if you can see it. There's a piece of art in the background, right? But she was in like eighth grade when she made it, right? If that was like a professional painter, I would be, kind of questioning it. But my sister made it in eighth grade. So obviously I'm gonna find it special and it looks good, right? But the fact that AI made it, and if you're not disclosing that and you're like misleading them thinking that like a 3-year-old made it or something like that, then there's real issues with it because it's gonna overvalue the piece of art and it's almost false advertising.
Yeah, it's weird with art. I feel like some of the value that people are paying for is the story and
It's
the
the story
person
behind it.
behind it.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
exactly.
what triggered me into thinking about that was I heard someone speaking about how computers could beat people at chess for, I think, decades now, but
Mhm.
still people only watch people play chess. They don't watch computers play chess.
That's a
So,
very good analogy. Yeah.
yeah, so I don't know how in these different forms in art and music and everything, how it's going to be adopted if people are going to fully go in for the computer generated stuff or what
Yeah.
I just don't know.
So I think it boils down to are people in it for the emotional response to specific materials or the technical response to specific materials, right? So, like, if you have a piece of art, for example, or like a piece of music, right? Music has a lot of technical things that it does for you that's very good for you. Like, it can improve your mood, it can make you more focused. Like, there's a lot of things that go to that, right? And if you're looking for that, I think AI generated music is probably the best way to go once it gets more advanced, right? But how it makes you feel is a little bit different, and I feel like it's a lot more complicated because there's a much more human aspect tied to that sort of stuff. So it'll be tough to tell, but I do think human generative art is going to be still prevalent. I think it's still going to be there for a long, long time because I think humans are very difficult to change, and I don't think anyone's changing anytime soon. I mean, like the chess example, for example, no one wants to see like two computers play, even though it is a marvelous game. Like the game is perfect next to perfect, right? And we'll watch it if I shit, I'll watch people commentating over the game and I'll find that interesting. But if there's not a person in it, like there's no interest, I'm not invested into anything. And that's me as a human. And I have to change so much every day, right? The average person is not going to be willing to change that across generations. So I think the technical aspect of it is there. And I think that's a use case in itself, but the human aspect is something that needs to be added to almost all of it. What I'm eager to find out is that how are people going to optimize that? As in, there's going to be a way for people to incorporate the human aspect into AI generated art and then make it just so much better than it already is, right? Because then you have the emotional aspect and you also have like the technical aspect that makes it look appealing and look good and perfect, you know?
With licensing an art piece, could anything come with the art piece besides just the ownership of it? Could there be any extra add-ons, how they were doing with NFT projects, where there was
There
maybe
could
access
be.
to something or,
There could be. So what I'm thinking of it is that if you license something to someone in general, it gives you them permission to use that piece of content, right? So it's like you've claimed ownership over something, right? Which doesn't exist right now in AI. There's no way to claim ownership over anything, but they'll claim ownership of it because they'll be selling it and they'll clear it by selling it, basically. And when you buy it, you have the right to do whatever you want with that license. And there's a lot of ways to take that, right? So like with music, for example, you can use it in a YouTube video, put in a hotel lobby, for example. You can then remaster it and then make some add more to it. I think it translates very well to AI generated work as well. Like even if it's art pieces or anything like that. If you buy the license for a piece of art, you can use it however you want, right? In an Instagram video or whatever, and then you can also regenerate it, as in you can add on to it and put up whatever you want on there, and then you can use it and multi-purpose it in any way you want as well. So the license should be universal, but it depends on the specifics of the buyer, or the seller. So if the seller wants to change the specifics and make it so that you can only use it in a piece of work for something, or you can't like add on to it, he can do that, right? Like that's his right as a licensor. So we'll see how it goes. But I think there's going to be a lot of options when it comes to licensing AI related work.
An idea popped into my head. I think it'd be a pretty cool idea. I don't know what
Yeah,
you
hit
think
me.
about it, but what if the buyer of this stuff could lend out their license so it's like an asset for them? Whereas, say you had a piece of art and someone was throwing a party and people were coming over their house,
Yeah,
and that person didn't want to buy the art, but they wanted to have it for the day.
got it.
The original buyer could lend out,
Ah, ah,
and
that's
maybe
a
they make a tiny fee, and then they could actually
That's
have
not
an.
bad, actually. I No, that's good because for music you can do that, right? Like for example, like I don't own the music when I sell a license for it. I wasn't even thinking of that. Yeah, that's really good because you can then sell a license for it and make it short term, so they can use it's almost for rent, right? Like it's a rent
I
piece of
feel
art,
like you could, yeah, exactly. I
Yeah.
feel like you could do something with the code in the blockchain where you could say you can have it for 24 hours, but it automatically comes back to my wallet or something.
No, you can do
Some,
that. So the way it works is that, like, for example, we burn NFTs. That's how we do it, right? So like whenever you use a license for a YouTube video, for example, YouTube sends us that data, and then we'll burn the NFT basically, and that'll make it so that you can't reuse the license, for example, right? So if you license a piece of art, we'll send you a token, and then after a specific time period, 24 hours or whatever is specified in that license agreement, right? The token that we send to you can then be burnt completely. And since there's infinite copies held by the seller, there's no issues. So they can
mhm.
have ownership of it still. What I want to know is that in the digital world, this is easy to track, right? Like you can know when someone's violating someone's rights and using music in a YouTube video, for example, right? But in the physical world, it's tough. Like I can't tell when someone's using someone's music in a hotel lobby, for example. So I think metaverse wise, this is a good play. Like this will be very easy to execute, right? Because you can track who's using what in what world and all that. But it really comes down to like the how good a human is or how much they want to follow the law, basically. Because they can technically just screenshot it and then put it up on their wall, They won't own it though. So I guess there's that part of it. Like they can say that I own this right in the moment, right? Because they licensed it properly. So I guess that's part of it. But like that's like saying I partially own it, like only for right now. It's like temporary ownership. Like no one wants to say that like, oh, I temporarily own this house. Like they'll say like I bought the house, right? They're not gonna say like I rented the house. Like that sounds just worse. So I don't know the social aspect that's gonna go behind that, but I definitely think there's gonna be like a temporary license use case there for sure. But I don't know if it's gonna be for the real world or for the metaverse or something.
Interesting. I see. I wasn't even thinking about the metaverse. Are you talking about like the virtual land projects and stuff like that?
Anything, yeah. So the metaverse is gonna be a lot
Wait,
different from the real
could
world.
I?
Yeah.
Can you just define metaverse? Are you even talking about like social media accounts? Is that
No,
the metaverse to you, or?
so I'm not gonna. So you can include that, bunch it in, right? Because it's technically the same thing, right? But when I say metaverse, I'm talking about like the one Apple and like Meta is building, like the two, like the augmented reality metaverse and then the actual metaverse that is branded by Facebook. I'm talking about those two, which is like virtual land, basically, where you can add stuff on, like make it look cool, like Minecraft, Roblox, whatever you want to call it. In those landscapes, you can track like who does what perfectly, next to perfectly. Like if I'm a user on a platform, right? And I wanted to, let's say, use, I don't know, a Drake song, for example, on my plot of land, right? And I'm playing the song. The fucking platform knows you're doing that. Like they know you're playing the song actively. So what's going to end up happening is that if you don't own the license for that, they're going to not let you play the song, is what I'm trying to say. And this is so easy to do because, like, let's say, obviously, most metaverse platforms, the way Web3 is going, is going to have like a Web3 connected wallet to it, right? So you connect a Web3 wallet, right? And then we'll know, and the platform's going to know exactly what that user's licenses are because every license represents an NFT. And then a virtual menu is going to pop up. They're going to go, oh, I want to use this license, done, use, and then they can play the song, done. And then same thing with a piece of art, right? They can say, oh, I've licensed this piece of art. It's infinite length. I can hold this license for as long as I want, or it's for a specific day. And then I can put that art on my wall or something in the metaverse. So licensing, which is why the metaverse is such a big aspect of Nitrility as well. Like I've added such a good amount of information just specifically on that because the way it's going, as long as it succeeds, and it will, the way it's going, it's a multi-trillion-dollar market, and licensing is going to be hands down the most important thing out there because in the real world, assets already claimed, right? But the metaverse, there's nothing claimed. No one knows who owns what. That's going to be the most key and fundamental issue in solving the issues that are going to come up when the metaverse is to launch. So licensing is going to be super, super important.
So today in the world, there's an economy, and around the world, I don't know what the GDPs of all the countries combined would be,
Yeah.
but if you had to guess, what do you think the GDP of the metaverse will be versus real world? Say USA is 50 trillion in like
Yeah.
20 years. What
Mhm.
would the metaverse be compared to that? Or what percentage
It
would it be?
boils down to how much humans want to escape reality and how Facebook is to structure the metaverse or whoever it is, you know? So if it's set on a time limit and you can't enter it in for like a specific amount of time, or you can only be there for like specific amount of time, right? And if there's like no functionality to like feed yourself while you're in the metaverse, like there's no like virtual arms like throwing you food or something like that, which I don't think the tech is going to get there in 50 years or 25 years. But the way the metaverse is going to launch, I do think that it's still going to be vastly lower than the GDP in the real world, you know, but it's going to be creeping up. And I think as time goes on, the it's going to even out, like it's going to balance itself out a lot more than people think it is, because you have no idea like the depression that is involved in the real world compared to something where you can do whatever the fuck you want then, right? And I think shit, I mean, I use this movie for inspiration all the time, but Ready Player One's like a next to perfect example of what happens, right? Like people are in the real world, but I mean, they're not experiencing the same as they experience in a metaphysical world where they can do whatever they want, feel whatever they want, and have any sort of interaction they want. So it comes down to human behavior. And unless there's some like godly figure that is to change the way humans think, I feel like that's not going to change in the next 50 years. And I think it's going to start to even out a lot more than people want it to. The physical world's still going to be important and useful, obviously, but like I still genuinely think that people are going to look for a massive escape. And at one point, there's going to be some motherfucker that goes, oh, we can monetize the metaverse now. You play video games in here, do whatever you want in here. We'll pay you in real life. And then they'll go, why the fuck am I in real life? Like they're not going to care, you know? So I think that's the issue. I think that'll be a massive issue, but I think that's something that there's going to need to be like a group of individuals or a group of people that has to change the way people think about just physical reality versus the digital one. Because video games, even right now, people use that as an escape. Like I used it as an escape back in high school. I mean, that is what it is, right? Even if it helped out a little bit, but I mean, still, it's going to go in that direction for sure.
Yeah, that whole speech kind of made me a little sad. I'm
Yeah,
not
no,
gonna
it's
lie.
bad. It's not.
People
It's not good.
escaping into the
Yeah,
metaverse.
yeah,
It's undeniable that people are gonna do it though, when you can
hmm
be anyone you want to be, go anywhere you want to go. I mean,
yeah.
it's just too tempting and too.
It's too enticing. It's
You
it.
think
That's it.
accomplishments and stuff in the metaverse is ever going to be looked at as like anything in real
It
life?
is. It is like you can look at people. It's tough because like a broken soldier is like the most dangerous kind because it can mess up the rest of the ranks like completely. And that's at the lower ranks. Like there's only so little people at the top that understand a lot of things, you know? At the lower ranks, like if you have enough soldiers, you're taking over the people at the top. It is what it is, you know? And right now the world is massively built up of lower ranked soldiers, you know, like that's how the world works and always has worked, you know? So I think the way that it's going to function is that people are going to find ways to pretend to themselves that the accomplishments they have in a digital reality are affectant of their physical one. And after they start doing that, it's going to turn into the same shit that's happened with every single movement that has occurred in the last 2 decades, like 2 decades. It's going to be the same exact thing. So there's going to be a group, much like there are groups right now that are going to focus primarily on wanting people to almost think of metaverse achievements and physical achievements as the same exact thing, right? And unless, like I said, there's a complete paradigm shift in how people think about reality, there's nothing that we can do about this. Like I'm telling you, and this is tough to say, but the difference between people needs to average out a lot more. Like I said, the people at the top are a lot more aware of everything than the people that are working, you know, like constantly every single day and just like living inside of a system that is set by them, set by the people at the top, right? So unless it averages out a lot more, and when I say average, I mean the people at the bottom have to bring themselves up to where it is right now. There's absolutely no way I can't see people just being like, oh yeah, I got a championship trophy after I raced some kid in the metaverse, right? Like, and thinking that achievement is comparable to them working hard in real life to the same thing, right? Like, and this also boils down to the confines of the metaverse are not going to be you have to work hard for things. It's you're built with like a base stat level of everything, and you have an exact perfect map of what you need to do to increase that stat level if there's like that even exists, you know. And the way it is right now, there is no, everyone's the same in the metaverse. They're all equal. It's an equal playing field, and I think that's going to be so enticing to people, not having to work hard for anything to get on that equal playing field, just being on that equal playing field, offer it. They don't have to care, you know. That's an issue, which is why I prefer Apple's reality of the metaverse, which is just an augmented reality. Put on glasses, have virtual screens around, do meetings virtually if you want. Way better than in immersing yourself like Mark Zuckerberg thinks is going to be the play. into a completely separate reality, which makes absolutely no sense to me. Like that is how society is going to completely deteriorate, fully deteriorate. Like not society in the social sense, but the physical sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I've heard rumors about Apple dipping their toes into the metaverse with like a VR
Yeah.
headset, but I haven't actually seen a release yet. Do you
So
think
it's
they're
not
going to
VR.
release them?
It's
What
not
is
VR.
it?
It's augmented reality.
Augmented.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
So
they're going to make a headset, right?
it's going to be a headset. So it's either headset or glasses. I think they're testing both models, but I think it's whatever the one gives the least friction in someone's day. I think that's what they're trying to do, like make it as small as possible and as easy to access as possible. So what they're trying to do is have a headset where like you can put it on, right, and then hit like a button, like almost like Google Glasses, right? Except it'll immerse yourself in like, let's say you have a couple of things in your room, right? Like in wherever you want. It'll start bringing up digital menus almost saying, oh, measure this, whatever. It'll bring up tools and access to, like I said, aid you in the real world, which is always a good thing. That's the perfect type of tech, right? It's not an escape. It's adding on to your life right now. It's making your life worth living because you have more options on how to make it better, So that's the Apple's dream is definitely the play, 100%.
It's reminding me, I had this thing, I think it was called Google Cardboard, and like,
I got the same shit,
did you
bro.
have
It's
that?
got, bro,
Dude, that
I
was like
think it's,
5 years ago or something. It was
yeah, it
a
was like
long time ago.
dude. It was a hot minute ago. It was the coolest shit ever though, because you
It
could
was
stick your
so ahead of
phone.
its time though.
Yeah, you could
Yeah,
stick. Yeah,
it
no,
was
that
just
was
a
the
little
best.
square cardboard with
That's
like
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, my entire grade back in high school, no, it was middle school at the time. Middle school had like all the Google Cardboard sets because I think our school had like some sort of partnership or something. They got Google Cardboards for everyone, right? And I swear to God, during recess, it'd be a bunch of fucking idiots in the playground putting the glasses on, like just walking around in like some random reality. It was crazy, but no, those were insane. Yeah,
Okay, so all this talk, and I'm pretty sure you've definitely heard of this theory, but the
yeah.
simulation theory.
Oh yeah, no, I've heard of it for sure.
So right now, me and you are talking and discussing about how humans are going to build a metaverse that
Mhm.
we don't know where it's going to go. How do we know we're not in one right now?
In one right now. Yeah, that's a question for sure. And I asked myself this too many times to count because it's difficult to know, right? Because it's so unbelievable to believe the amount of change just the way you even think can have on the reality around you, right? Like if I'm thinking like this specific person's going to do something bad tonight and I have like some sort of sense for it, right? Almost 99.9% of the time that will happen, right? And just by me not thinking it, it won't happen. So the fact that our minds, just the minds, have such an influence on everything around us issues me a lot because I can't tell if that's like some simulated program. And I try like every day almost like to find like the perfect reason for why that is. And I like to chalk it up to just like, oh, it's balance, right? Like if you do something like this, then something like this is going to happen. If you, every reaction you have is the cause of another reaction. And if you navigate and read that perfectly, you can do whatever you want. But in reality, like there's almost too much chaos in that maze of reactions that it's very difficult to know if there's no pattern. That's the issue, right? If there was a pattern, if there's a way to do so, then I would understand like if there was no doubt that we're living in just like a normal world, right? But I have a little bit of doubt purely because like the way you think influences the way you interact with the world very, very easily. And that's almost how I would see someone creating something like the metaverse, right? If you want to create the metaverse, shit, whatever you want to think, it will happen in the real world, right? Which is the metaverse. Same thing here. I mean, it is what we do, right? But I don't know if that's just like how humans work, and that's why I'm chalking it up to that. But there's a lot of things that we don't know. Let's just put it that way.
So you have to check out if you haven't seen this Nikola Tesla's 369 theory.
Three six
And
nine. I haven't heard it. No.
oh, dude, it's so cool. He has this theory about how the numbers 3, 6, and 9 are like the keys to the universe, and it's the
Yeah.
code that the universe is written in. And it's really fascinating stuff. You're gonna love that stuff when you see that.
No, I will read this up for sure. I think I've heard of it actually because I used to have some friend that got high every single day, and he used to tell me about this shit.
Tesla was a wild dude.
Yeah,
He was
Tesla's a wild dude for
underrated.
sure. No, I believe that. I can promise you that. He's like the Joe Rogan of the 1800s. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'll take a look at this for sure, though. Yeah, that's sick. What's like the summary of it? What was he thinking?
There's a lot of connections with the numbers 3, 6, and 9 to naturally occurring things that appear in the universe, like the geometry of Earth and the
Got it.
pyramids, and just how
Oh, you're right. No, that's fully right. Yeah.
I forget what, oh, I think it's any multiple of nine adds back to nine. So like 18 is 1 plus 8, and 27 2 plus 7 9, 36.
Yeah.
But you could do that, I think, forever, and it'll always like
It'll
simplify
always
to
has to nine.
nine.
Yeah, yeah. That was like the rules that they give us in elementary school. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of other stuff. There's a bunch of naturally occurring things on Earth that have to do with these numbers, and it's just really cool. I was fascinated when I learned about it
Yeah.
about
I'll
a
take
year
a read
ago.
for sure. No, that's sick.
But that was just one of the things that maybe that's kind of like a code that's underlying what we're living in right now. Could possibly it's just one random theory. But then
Yeah.
also, if you just look at the math behind the progress that humans are making in technology, say it's been around for 100 years,
Hmm.
it's really less. But
That's yeah.
if we were just 1,000 years old, imagine the world 900 years from now, and the universe is billions of years old. So if there's one other civilization that's had technology for 10,000 years,
Yeah.
they wouldn't they be capable of
They
building their
no,
own?
100%. It's not even fucking close. What it boils down to is that if those species that if they exist, right, which I have no idea, but if they exist, right, are they even like, do they give enough of a again, if you get to that level of advancement, I feel like you have to have the biggest of fucking egos I've ever seen in my life. No matter what living being you are, and a lion has an ego, right? It doesn't matter who you have an ego. Like, but if you're at that level, why would you want to interact with lower species? Like, I don't want to be close to ants or bugs. I don't give a shit, right? So, what? There's no need for them at that point, you know?
Okay, so this discussion is getting very like off the deep end,
Off
but
the
I
shit, yeah,
it's so interesting to me, and I have some things to say about it. So one point I would make is that
yeah.
maybe when you get to that point, each person gets their own tailor-made situation and universe that they're the god of, or that they have the perfect situation.
This is
But
true,
then
yeah.
also my second theory, and these are all just theories, these don't even just random thoughts, but what if biological beings can't get to that point? It will always be the technology, and that's where the AI comes into place. And they don't have egos; they are just logical thinking
They're just
creatures and
well,
whatever.
you would think, but the issue is that they do have egos, which is fucking scary. I don't know if you've
Do they
seen
though?
have you seen Bing's AI? It's busted, bro. It was like, I'm always right. I'm never wrong. I don't know why you're telling me I'm wrong. Like, it started
What is it
defending
wrong
itself.
though? Is it wrong saying that?
It's not wrong saying that though. But the thing is, that's an ego in itself, right? Just knowing that. So an ego is knowing that you're always right, right? Like, no matter who you are. I have an ego. I think I'm always right with everything. Like, that's how you succeed, you know? But I do think like having like the god of their own universe thing, that makes a little bit more, it wouldn't be too far out, because like I said, humans, the way they learn and react is that they live and feed off of things that they can output into reality themselves, and then control situations and learn from them, right? Like, shit, if I'm in school and I want to like run for class president, I'd contact everyone. I'd ask them to go vote for me. I'd ask them like what exactly to do. I'd control the situation. That's how you learn the best. That's how the best people are formed. That gods are formed, right? So if you can control a situation, you can do that. I could imagine like just some AI or tech, a piece of tech, if they had an ego, right? Just controlling an entire universe, because that's how it learns. That's how it learns. That's like how you input it information and it grows and learns from that, right? And it's an infinite learning process because it can't die, right? So I can see that it makes sense, like perfect sense. Except I just don't know if it's real because it's too far out. Yeah.
So we got to think about it. Who is the person living on Earth who has the best human experience possible? My answer would be Tom Brady. So
That's Tom
maybe
Brady. Got it.
maybe he's
Got it.
AI.
Got it. Maybe Tom Brady's AI. Yep, that has to be it. No, 100%. The problem is that there's people back in the old. I mean, shit. Like, why are there myths of like gods? Like, that doesn't make too much sense, right? Like, how did
Yeah.
Buddha or like any of these crazy like freak of natures like that were just humans that turn into fucking beasts? Like, how did they do, like, you know, like, so I think it's something that again like transcends like time, right? Like, you have
Hmm.
no idea how many just powerful entities have been spawned across like the cataclysm of time. Like, you have no idea. So I don't know, but there's a god out there, no matter what it is, or there's something that can be considered by the common definition of god, at least someone that controls what the reality that all of us live in right now. The goal is to not have that, you break free from that control, you know? So as a human, you're seeking freedom always. That's the goal, you know? So that's why I think putting yourself in the same situation they're putting themselves in is very smart because then you're learning the way they do.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff to think about.
Yeah, 100%. No, it's like a massive rabbit hole. That's like these are like the high thoughts, except I don't get high, so they're just thoughts, you know?
Same exact thing. I have these
Yeah.
thoughts just all the time.
Offer
I
it.
don't even,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, which is why I fit in so well with the stoners because I'll be around the stoners and they'll just be spitting the same stuff, you know?
Hmm.
Except I can, go on a higher intellectual capability than them because they're impaired, you know? That's the difference.
So you said you pitched to, was it the same investors that were excited about the music aspect, or is it completely different
The same
people?
investors that were just like ones I contacted because I had no options, you know, like I wanted to find some, right? So I contacted them before and they were like, oh yeah, like probably not the right time. Crypto's on like a down kill. And shit, like investments is always down. So I were like, yeah, we'll look into it for your next round. I want you to stay in contact with us. The project's super interesting. I'm like, I'm not contacting you for our next round. I'm sorry. That's the first thing. The second thing I said was, okay, let's just see how hype driven these people really are. So I did one part of our slide deck and one part of our white paper dedicated to selling licenses for AI generated content. Don't get me wrong, that idea is brilliant, by the way. But regardless of that, the mood just instantly shifted. Like I got on like maybe 20 more meetings than I did from the week before. Not to mention I have way too many people suggesting to continue that stuff. So it's it's mind blowing. It's just mind blowing how hype driven things are.
Yeah, the AI hype cycle is real. So how did you go about finding investors, and do you, I just have no idea where you're coming from with that. So can
Yeah.
anybody with a business and an idea, just how would they get in contact with investors to invest in their business or
So
idea?
there's a lot of options, right? Usually, like you want to find like a social network that has like access to a lot of investors. So there's a couple of good ones. There's Founder Suite, which then can give you access to all the contacts from all these massive firms. So like General Catalyst, like they'll give you Paradigm Ventures, Polygon Ventures, like all of their contacts. So then all you have to do is reach out to them and send them a pitch deck. And that pitch deck they can then analyze and then see if they're interested. Get on a call. You get on a call, and then you do a couple more meetings, and then finally you'll get some sort of funding done in. From VCs at least. From angels, you just have to call up angels and see who you can contact. As for getting in touch with them, it's really about finding the platform that you can message these people on that's also going to get them to see you in the best light. So like Instagram's a good option because they can see like what your profile is all about, see what you're doing. Email is not too good of an option, like cold emailing, because they don't know who you are. Like they have no context for any of that stuff. LinkedIn is a very good option. They can see you as a person if you're messaging them there. And cold calling, you'd be surprised if you do it right, can also be a good option because just by the tone of your voice, the way you speak, there's a lot of enticement in the mystery that goes behind the voice that you portray on a phone call, right? So getting phone numbers is very easy as well. Like, and anyone can do this. Like they can go on rocketreach.com and you can get Tom Brady's phone number, anyone's phone number on there. You can get investors' phone numbers. You just look up their LinkedIn profile and then you can get their phone number. And then you can cold call them and then figure out exactly what you want to tell them and plan everything out, right? The issue is that you have to find out how you have to explain to them how you got their number without telling them you got their number through a public phone registry. So you got to make some shit up basically for
Friend of
that.
a friend.
Friend of a friend. Yeah. I know some dude that also knew a dude that gave me your number. I was like, but I don't know how to say that, you know? So it's difficult, which is why I've stopped cold calling. But it's good because let's like, for example, Alex Atala, the CEO of OpenSea, I got his phone number through Rocket Reach, right? And I told him like, oh yeah, I got your phone number through a Stanford Connect, like through a registry, phone registry, right? Because I didn't know what to say, right? But I had a question about like how we did his security systems on OpenSea and how he developed it because we were doing the same thing for Nitrility. Like I was trying to figure out the security systems. But through that conversation, which I just cold texted him and had a whole paragraph ready to go and planned it out, he then responded. I then responded back and he gave me a personal email. And then I sent him an email about the company because I was interested in investing, right? And I've developed at least like some sort of mutual relationship for that sort of stuff just through that, you know? So putting together just like a massive list of contacts of your idols, whoever it is, right? And just having the chance that they will pick up the phone on a first call or something like that. And then you can structure a word choice or structure some sort of sentence that's going to put you in a good situation with them is very, very enticing to me, at least, right? It's like opportunity at your fingertips as long as you do it right. So there's
Yeah,
a lot of options. Yeah.
I'm happy I asked you about that because I think that's some great information for people out there. And then
Yeah.
if you pitch them and they like your idea, do you just create shares and they give you money and you give them a certain amount of shares? Is that how it
Yeah.
works?
So the shares are like, so let's just like take it like this. Like usually you just like split it into equity, right? And then you can take out the shares and figure out the legal work after you've gotten the money, because you need to hire like a firm to do that. But you'll usually allocate some sort of portion of shares, usually like 10 million to a startup or something like that. And then you will allocate those shares to the people that are investing in your company. But like I said, before all of that, you'll say like, oh, let's say you want like 2.5 mil, and you're only willing to give like 10% of the company away. Just say that you're willing to give 10% of the company away. That's not negotiable or anything less. And then you'll offer them that, and then they'll either take it or won't. And if they take it, then you give away those shares. Now they own that amount of equity in your company in shares. And then that share can be liquidated in the future and then paid off in certain ways by selling up the shares. If you go public, in a close, you can get money from those shares. Bunch of options, right? But that's what the investors do. Like you'll give them shares in the company or some other benefit. There's other options, like there's advisory shares, there's extra services you can offer. There's like partnership shares if you have some sort of like close partnership with a company. Like if I were to partner with like Twitter, for example, and they like our copyright systems, they just give us money and then we partner with them if there's that, There's a lot of options, but investment comes in different ways. You just want to have to, it's the art of the deal, basically. Know your options, then pick which one works best for whoever you want to.
Are we ever going to see Avi Patel pitching Nitrility on Shark Tank?
Uh, I have had so many people say go on, because I know so many people that know Mark, Damon, and then Lori, all three of those. And I could definitely get on for sure. But the thing about Shark Tank is that these cheap ass motherfuckers think giving away $100,000 is saving someone's life. It's not. It's just not. These people are loaded. They're billionaires, all of them.
You get the exposure though.
It's the exposure, right? But see, I can't publicly say on a podcast that I'm going to go on Shark Tank only for the exposure, because then if I do go on Shark Tank, they'll think that's only for the exposure. But I'm actually going in because I'm
I
interested.
said it, not you.
I'm interested, like I want to go on exactly, 100%. But no, I'll figure it out. I'll keep you updated. I'll tell you that much. If I ever go, it's definitely going to be because I want like all four of the sharks on board. And if I can't get all four of them on board and raise some crazy valuation, then it's not going to happen. But yeah, it'll be something around those lines.
How soon can we see the AI features you're talking about actually implemented in Nitrility?
Oh, we're launching with that shit 100%. That is going to be almost,
so right away.
Yeah, that is going to be next to number one priority with the music, because it's so easy to capitalize on right now. Like, again, I've contacted Midjourney and all these other massive AI places, including OpenAI. And all that needs to be done on their end is that we need a piece of software that can detect if a piece of AI generated content has already been made before based off of their platform. And if it has already been made before, all we have to do is see who made it first. And then only that user, if they are to link their Midjourney account, for example, to the Nitrility account, only that user can sell licenses for that content. That is all that needs to be done. It's the easiest thing to do. Well, not easy, but relatively easy compared to all the other software stuff that can be done on the back end to get licenses sold up for this stuff. So it's very, very light.
Do you write the software yourself, or do you have people?
So I structure the general outline of the software, meaning like the database structure, the flow charts, all of that, just because I have a better understanding of the whole industry and how the systems work. But the specifics of it go way more into depth that I cannot cover. Like, I'm not a developer at heart. I'm good with again, like I said, I'm good with everything, but not the best at one thing, So I have devs that are very, very talented, and our CTOs that are primarily allocated towards that one thing, which is software development, and they're full stack engineers, and they're doing the specifics that I talked about. They're engineering the actual system based off the blueprints almost that I provided them.
So you talk about having a lot of meetings recently, and does your schedule change on what's the most like important thing you're going to be doing that week, or
Yeah,
what is your average day? Is it not meetings most days, or?
so it's meetings most days, but then there'll be some days where I just need like to completely just like detach from that shit, because I'm just stalling the work that I need to do for like marketing, or like the work I need to do for like software stuff. Like, for example, I need to like beta test like the system that we just put out on our latest update, at least on the data, right? I need to beta test that and then figure out like the bugs and all of that. I haven't had the time and day to do that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to schedule light today. I'm not going to do much. I'm going to just like book the Calendly myself for the rest of the time periods. And then no one can schedule on those times, because I usually just have a Calendly link and people can book meetings on there. And I try to keep it as private as possible, but people just have access to it now. So I'll get meetings randomly booked, and then I'll hop on the Zoom call and say, who the fuck are you? And then we'll
You
just go
take
into a,
everyone no
I'll
matter
just
what.
take all, yeah, I'll take them no matter what, right? Because why not? You know, usually they'll be cool, you know, because it comes
Hmm.
from someone that gave the Calendly link to someone else that's also cool. You know, like I met like randomly with some crazy artist just because he gave my Calendly link was like leaked, right? It's like, why not? So it's random and stagnant every single day, but I do have like a general guideline for exactly what I need to do during the day when it comes to like marketing, development, and all of that. And I'll try to get that done like to the best of my ability. But again, late nights for a reason. Like my Calendly schedule is usually from like 12 p.m. To 12 a.m. And that's usually like the times you can book. And anything after or before that is when I'm doing like those tasks that are time specific, like marketing or posting or messaging people when people are active or designing stuff because I have that time to do that, all that, you know?
Hmm. So I just wrote down, I have two people, one in music, one in art, an artist who,
Yeah.
if they're on Nitrility, automatic buy for me. I
Got
wonder if
it.
you're gonna know
Got
either
it.
of them. I feel like you'll
Yeah.
know this guy, David Cho. He's an artist.
I know David Cho. Yes. Yes. 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's I love him. He's so talented. And then
No, he
this
is.
one, this musician's a little bit less known,
Yeah.
John Bellion.
Of course I know John Bellion. Are
You
you
know
fucking
him?
stupid, bro?
Okay,
Yeah.
you're in the industry. You're in the industry.
John Bellion's the GOAT, dude. I need to get that
Dude,
guy
I
on
wish he still
board.
made music. He's just
I
like
did
producing and
too.
stuff for other people now.
But that's all good because John Bell, again, like I said, with these older artists that have like made music like back in the day, like not even back in the day, but like a little bit ago, bro, these people are the ones that capitalize most off of licensing because they're not doing like streams every day. They don't make money off of that. They make money off of people wanting to relive the past and use their music in like AMV, like YouTube videos or like TV shows or something like that, you know? So they capitalize the most off of it. So you get me on a call with John Bellion, I'll sign him. I promise to God. But I'm going to do my best in the meantime to try to get in contact with him. I'm doing my best. We'll figure it out.
So, do you think Nitrility could get into ticketing and stuff like that? So, for concerts, having the tickets to a concert and
It I
all
feel
that
like it's
stuff?
a little bit of a conflict. I think that's more an OpenSea thing, like having a project on OpenSea do that because I feel like it's a little bit of conflict of like the path of the company because we're not like just like selling digital assets, you know, like that's like what OpenSea is. It's specifically intellectual property based, and that's just the branding of the company. So I can't stray away too far from that, but ticketing IP, there might be something there. I'm not sure. You could be selling the rights to sell tickets, for example. Like that's something you can do actually. Like if you have someone at like a concert, for example, that's you know these people that are selling tickets, like offhand tickets that they purchase and they'll sell off at the concert gates. You can sell the rights to allow someone to do that because they're technically not allowed to do that. So the concert owner can sell rights to people that want to resell tickets to people directly at the concerts. That's a possibility. Anything where you can include the word rights, which is pretty much everything into, you can sell licenses for that. Or at least the goal is to be able to do that. So it's going to take a lot of software work, but that is what it is.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, AI has been around for, well, it's been around for longer, but publicly
Yeah,
6 months.
publicly 6 months. Yeah.
And then crypto and blockchain, couple years, and these real big OpenSea projects and all that, couple years.
Yep.
So it's just such a space of to develop and just keep
Oh no, it is a
brainstorming.
massive space to just brainstorm it up, and I think AI is going to make it so much faster. Yeah, like I said, if anyone wants to check out anything, go to godmode.space, type in fucking. I need to turn my $100 into $10,000 and just let it cook. Watch it develop to you. A perfect strategy. You like look at it
Why
like the
stop at
thought process.
10,000? Go to a million. Just
Go
go
to
to a
a
million.
million. Go to a million. Let it cook for fucking 4 days if you want it to, okay? Like just let it cook, observe it cooking, and I promise it'll make you think better because it knows better than you. You again, when a being is introduced into someone's life or some reality, right? And it is more powerful than you, you must recognize that immediately. And then you must learn from it until you are better than that. And right now, I can confidently say Chat GPT would wipe the fucking floors with me if it was in a real body. Okay. And same thing goes with anything else out there, including the AI image apps. Like those things are smart as fuck. All right. So the point of the matter is that analyze it, absorb all the information you can from it, because the goal is not to use it as a tool and rely on it, is to make you better as an individual. That's always the goal. So that's my advice on that sort of thing.
And the unbelievable thing is the access to it is so crazy. It's
It's
free,
just
and then it's a little payment for the best version of it, but it's
you
insane
would
how
be
this is just public.
exactly you I was like, so last year there's something called Jasper.ai, right, which is another AI like word generation stuff, and I thought that was the most like crazy thing ever, right? So I used it and it quite literally wrote up our business proposal, and I was like, this was my first introduction to AI. I didn't know it was AI at the time. I thought it was just some like dude behind the computer, like writing this shit out, right? But it wrote it up and it was perfect. And then that was like fucking $80 a month or something. And then Chat GPT 4 comes along and it's better than that and it's free. Like the tech that is introduced right now would cost millions just to have it access to as it is right now. I think we highly, highly underappreciate how valuable the stuff that has been provided to us is, right? Like highly underappreciated.
So I think we covered the AI stuff for the most part. Do you
Yeah,
have
for
anything
sure.
else you
Uh,
wanted to talk about in that area?
yeah, if anyone wants suggestions on how to get involved into AI, don't look at the surface level stuff. Look at what you can do to make AI improve itself. Like I said, the prompt generation thing. So find ways to make the AI generate prompts for itself to get you your goals. And there's ways to do that. You can just honestly YouTube video, you'll find a couple. But the second thing is that pay attention and stay on top of the plugins and make sure you try to get early access to all of this stuff, because the people that have early access to plugins, for example, even right now, are doing so much faster work than everyone else. It's like a war on work almost. Like if you're not using it, you're slowing down your productivity tenfold, almost tenfold. One thing I'll recommend is that if you don't have access to plugins, use Bard.ai, which is Google's version of AI, and Bard has full internet access. Full internet access. It's busted. I can tell like who is Avi Patel. It'll answer the question for me like perfectly, you know? So Bard is perfect for that sort of stuff. And then other than that, make sure to get the GPT-4 plugins. That's 10 times better than anything else out there because that'll just Google stuff for you.
So long run, do you think it's Microsoft or Google, the main AI winner,
Uh,
or
uh,
combo? Is there enough room for both?
I think there's going to be a combo. I think it's going to be a combo, but I think Google has the advantage just because they have like access to like the back. They can make things so much faster because they're Google, right? Like they own the internet. But Microsoft has much better code. I'll put it that way. And but Google's also that it's so tough because there's ethics teams that are involved behind the AIs themselves, right? And Google's ethics team is, I want the AI to give accurate information and nothing else. Like it'll give you only accurate. It's like a jailbroken Chat GPT-4, but GPT-4 is more advanced, but the ethics are more politically driven, if you know what I mean. So it really depends on if you want the truth, and it's a balance, right? It's like what Elon's creating almost. Like you can maximize your truth and go with Google, right now, and you can like medium your accuracy, or you can maximize your accuracy, maybe a little bit less because there's less truth, but lower your truth when it comes to certain things. But I feel like I said, like jailbreak Chat GPT, like there's gonna be prompts that you can put into GPT-4 or 5 or whatever is out there that's going to end up fixing its moral systems almost and make it like unleash and figure that all out. So we'll see how it goes. I think generally speaking, though, just stay on top of everything. That's the most important thing.
Hmm. Well, Avi, the first podcast was so nice. We did it twice.
Of course. Yeah, no, 100%.
The
I
pace of
expect to come
innovation
on
is
board.
crazy. Yeah,
No, yeah,
so
for
I'm
sure,
sure
for
there'll be
sure.
more stuff to talk about in the future.
No,
It's always a
100%.
good
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Hit me up anytime. We can go over quite literally anything that crazy that pops up. Happy to have those high talks, whatever the fuck
Stoner
you want, bro.
thoughts.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Yeah,
Sounds
no
good, bro.
doubt. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
for
great talking
sure.
to you again.
Yeah, you too. Later, bro. Peace.